particularly happy today to introduce Dr. Eric CHENG, who is assistant professor at the National Taitung University, who is an anthropologist, works in the field of sustainability, human environment relationship, food culture, as we were saying, and supply chain. His ethnographic work topics of seafood trade, aquaculture, material, food waste, cultural heritage, the list is long, and social innovation. And he serves as different roles at the North American Studies Association, where I met him. And he's also the Executive Society Secretary of the Research Center for Humanity and Innovation and Social Practices at National Taitung University. And we are very happy to have him today. So Eric, no transition, the stage is for you, the screen is for you, and half an hour, as I said, and then we will go through questions and discussion with the public. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for Beatrice's introduction, and let me just start. My presentation title is called The Bony Millfish Road, Cost-Stricts Trade, Seafood Cultures, and Quality Taste Meets Punctuation. Actually, this presentation is based on a working paper that I'm going to submit, and it suggests adopting the metaphor of quality taste, what I call meets punctuation, as a conceptual tool. It discusses how cultural diversity makes quality mismatch with taste, resulting in business failure in cost-stricts trade. So I'm talking about trade here. I analyzed 3 forms of cost-stricts millfish trade between 2010 and 2015, the period when Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement, hereafter I call it EFTA, was implemented to remove tariff restrictions regarding formal millfish export from Taiwan to China. I describe this process as a bony millfish road, unlike China's metaphor of its maritime Silk Road policy that is similarly smooth and speedy. The millfish trade route is as bony as millfish itself, which contains 222 bones and spines. Millfish consumption is uncommon in China, I have to say. I examined millfish Taiwanese business people's experiences in trading with China to explore global seafood trade, Taiwanese and Chinese food cultures, and the possibility of applying and modifying the concept time-space punctuation to study business culture. Let me see next. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you all know what millfish looks like as a whole fish. You may see or eat it as a piece of fish belly or fish balls, or a bowl of fish head soup. This is the full body of millfish. It is actually a juvenile when we eat it, less than 1 year old. Even if you like millfish belly, you may not like eating the whole fish. This is because millfish contains many bones. My fish farmer informant once asked me to stop talking. Hey, stop talking, because we are all eating millfish for dinner. I think it is reasonable despite a bit of hard feeling, or else we may have choked or die. So now, okay, so like I'm introducing NGO's new teaching tool named the 四目鱼菌, the millfish model to you. You can teach people the body structure of millfish without touching an alive or a dead body. So here you go. Yeah, I got a model here. Yeah, I can show you later on in the Q&A session. Okay, so it's cute. I draw on China's One Belt, One Road policy to adopt my theme, the bony millfish road, to describe the situation of EFTA-related Taiwanese millfish export to China. Such cost-stricts millfish trade is an example of what I call quality taste with punctuation. Here are my 4 major take-home messages. Food export can fail for political, cultural, biological, and geographical reasons. So cost-stricts seafood trade is actually hardly smooth. Mainland Chinese understand very little about millfish and also devalue it. the millfish route, or simply speaking, cross-strait trade route, is too bony to succeed this time. My presentation focuses on 3 case studies of Taiwanese millfish exports: the whole fish export under the EFA, the fishball export under the EFA, but it's not part of it yet when I was studying, the millfish fillet and ball export under the cross-strait small 3 links policy, or what we call petty trade, 小三通. Okay, so to save some time, I will skip my literature review and directly go to my argument. So you can see the list of literature I draw here. I draw here to discuss my paper. My argument is that EFA as a cross-strait bilateral free trade policy, BFTA, not only lubricated seafood trade, make it smooth, but it also caused frictions, according to CHENG, which dampened millfish marketability in China. The 3 case studies I'm going to show illustrate the political, economic, and cultural conditions that built the bony millfish road. So I conceptualize this process as quality taste mispuntuation to delineate the uncertainty of global agro-food trade. As part of the global trade system, Taiwan matters, and its trading experiences show the diversity of trade routes following the global trend of BFTAs. Taiwanese people engage in cross-boundary or international trade to satisfy their economic, political, social, and cultural needs. Their business cultures, successfully or not, are worthwhile to document and discuss. This argument actually draws on the famous David Harvey's idea of time-space compression. However, after a lot of literature review, I adopt the concept suggested by Smart and Smart, which is punctuation. Punctuation, according to the Smarts, occurring at national borders is a metaphor to show any tools that break up the flow, that makes the flow broken. So to the Smarts, border is like a comma. National borders become checkpoints of trade flows. As I will show, quality and taste mismatch in the trade policy processes. This phenomenon is key to the failure of Taiwanese business people to introduce millfish to the Chinese market. Besides the reconfiguration of trade flow under the EFA and cross-strait relationship, I highlight the cultural economy and also materiality of food trade. As a tropical fish, which the mainland Chinese are unfamiliar to, millfish and its cross-strait movement is an example showing the cultural diversity and differences between China and Taiwan. So I provide 3 cases here to explain my viewpoint. The first one is about the contract farm, the trade contract between Starfish Company, which is a pseudonym, in Xuejia, in Tainan City, with the Chinese counterpart. The second one is what I call the 煮水, that means the Taiwanese, the Hokkien name, beautiful, millfish ball plant in Simu village, my major field site in Budai Township, Jiayi County. The third one is the petty trade route of millfish. Okay, so I'm going to give a very quick overview of my research process. I conduct both community study in Simu, here you go, fishing village between Budai and Beimen. It's actually adjacent to Tainan County, Tainan City. My anchor field site and multiple townships along the southwest and south coast of Taiwan. I trace millfish anywhere I can, even to Taipei, for different marketing and promotional events. But my limitation is that I didn't go to China at that time to do my research due to several reasons, but I do collect different secondary data and also interview quite a few people who have experience in China. I rode my scooter to different fish ponds, processing plants, and fish fry ponds to document millfish-related activity. I started my fieldwork in mid-2012, and my major data were collected from January 2014 to mid-2015. I also use secondary data for my analysis. For the sake of time, I can only highlight a few points about millfish. I quickly use the following few slides to talk about quality taste mispunctuation. So millfish was once a high-value fish in Taiwan before the 1970s. During the 1980s, the advance of aquaculture technology facilitated millfish production. The increase in quantity caused its price to drop. Millfish farmers faced price fluctuations since then for decades. It happens even nowadays. This graph gave you an impression of such phenomenon. You can see the fluctuation flow here. Some traders and the government promoted millfish exports to solve the problem. Most Taiwanese millfish actually go to the USA and surprisingly Saudi Arabia. Actually, the millfish is for the migrant workers from Southeast Asia, for example, the Philippines and Indonesia, which are the two major consumers and producers of millfish in the world. China was once a recorded rising market, as the graph shows. You can see this one, the orange line here, dotted line here. However, it does not mean that millfish can go anywhere as a commodity. I interviewed one fish farmer who was widely reported to get a certificate issued by the European Union that his millfish was high quality enough to be exported to European Union markets. However, he told me that actually he never sold a single millfish to Europe, simply because millfish is not a fish that the European desired. This is what I call quality taste punctuation. I add myths to punctuation to stress the wrong thought or practice that exports are products to a wrong market, or even it doesn't happen actually. Even in the domestic market, as we can see here in this picture, not all Taiwanese enjoy the bony millfish. To sell a whole fish, some business people debone the fish. However, fish farmers argue that the quality actually drops, and it is no longer the real taste of that millfish. Actually, you need to ferment the millfish before you debone it, and the fermentation process actually changed the taste of the millfish. That's why my fish farmer informers argue against that. So let me turn to the trade contract under the effort, the first case I saw. From the mid-2000s, China deployed soft power onto Taiwan to pursue its goal, cost-rate unification. So one of the major soft power tactics is 让利, that means concession, that means giving some goods, good shines to Taiwan to show that, okay, we can unite sometime later, we love each other, something like that. Okay, so in 2010, China and Taiwan implement the effort, and the first program is called the Early Harvest Program, 缴收清单. Actually, it's going to remove the trade tariff of some goods and some goods from 2010. As you can see in this diagram, this table, so millfish is one of the enlisted goods. The early harvest program resulted in two farmed seafood categories, as I argue. Unprocessed farmed seafood, just like grouper, 石斑, mullet, 乌鱼, millfish, and soft turtle egg, 甲鱼蛋, became tariff-free. However, some processed millfish products, such as fish balls, were still tariff laden. That means you still need to pay for the tariff before exported to China. My ethnographic data contradicted to the government's perspective. The government said that, okay, it's the golden time that we can export a lot of millfish or seafood to China. Millfish farmers experience fluctuating farm gate prices. That means the wholesale prices on the farm, rather than steadily increasing the prices after the effort was implemented. As I wrote somewhere else, most fish farmers' experience of the effort was less positive than what the government presented, because the effort did not cause the increasing farm gate prices for Taiwanese millfish produced in southwest Taiwan. So I just want to let you know that actually the farmers have diverse viewpoints, but what I connected in my field site is that it doesn't really help, and most of the time. That's from the farmer's viewpoint. And let us see those traders' experiences. So here it comes when I call what I call the Aboni trade contracts. The Starfish Company, established in 2009, it signed a trade contract with the Chinese side to provide selected local farmers supply millfish for the Chinese market. The FFC was a private company based in Shejia Township. As an outcome of efforts implementation, it brokered a deal with the Shanghai-based state-owned seafood enterprise through the PRC's Office of Taiwan Affairs. They signed a 5-year millfish trade contract in 2011 to serve an exclusive group of Taiwanese fish farmers based in Shejia, who operate fish farms for at least partly inside Shejia. Between July and December, the fish farmers sold millfish over 600 grams to the FFC at the farm gate price for exports with a guaranteed price. In my interviews, the fish farmers also prefer to sell fish to SFC, which just met the export standard and were in distress. That means it is dying. The FFC helped process them to become fish balls or floats. This was a typical practice of millfish farmers who fund export companies which offer more timely service than domestic wholesalers, who might only arrange a harvest weeks later than the fish farmers request. The FFC tried to demonstrate its care for fish farmers' need in the emergency moment of millfish compared to the domestic middlemen. The media reported the trade contract was part of China's Ranli concession. The FFC leadership was suspected of having betrayed Taiwan, Maitai, under China's unification strategy, Tongzai. So the FFC CEO counter-argued that the FFC supported fish farmers whose livelihood was at stake. He argued the Chinese and Taiwanese are both of the Chinese descent and therefore should help each other. The trade contract became the only way to prevent fish farmers from millfish wholesalers' exploitation, which was a major discourse about producer-middleman relationship in Taiwan. Actually, the trade contract was very politicized, and local political influence projecting a better future under closer cross-strait relationship. Such a promise was not realized as the following two consequences reflected. The decreasing guaranteed purchase price over years reflect millfish poor sales performance in China. Another problem is the delayed payment from China, the Chinese side to the contracted farmers. So the CEO actually told me that each millfish was not easily sold in China. A millfish valued at renminbi 18 块, $18, was on sale at renminbi 10, 10 块. Some traders told me that the other traders told me that the FFC did not know seafood really well because the CEO himself was actually a politician before taking the office. A rumor was that the FFC, during the first year of the trade contract, delivered ice-chilled millfish to China. It was a joke to us as a Leihanren because actually ice-chilled millfish could not be fresh when it reached China. Shanghai, it takes over 20 or 30 hours for shipping. And the fish were really rotten then. So during the later years, the FFC subcontract the freezing process to local plants to enhance the quality. However, the consumers in Shanghai or Fujian did not consume millfish because they actually have better choices. After 2016, the changing ruling party made the effort, further negotiation stopped it. We all know that China Ing-wen took office and the caustic relationship went frozen. The bad market performance of millfish in China also led to the end of FFC's trade contract. As of 2017, I hardly heard any discussion about the millfish trade contract during my fieldwork in Taiwanese aquaculture anymore. This business failure was partly a result of caustic's political changes. More than that was what I call quality taste punctuality being missed during the FFC market exploration. Different societies have developed their own seafood cultures and market demands. Quality is therefore not only a cultural construction, but also an indicator that affects the global flow. The Chinese market is diverse and contains different kinds of consumers. The FFC at that time gradually found that the coastal Chinese consumers did not demand for their freshwater millfish exports and also bony millfish. In 2014, they have turned to inland cities in Inner Mongolia, something like that, for promotion, targeting consumers used to freshwater fish. Without any success, the trade contract was ended. The wrong assumption of the Chinese market welcoming all Taiwanese fish is a good lesson to learn for global traders. So now I turn to the second example. The effort did not include Taiwanese processed millfish product into its early harvest list, but people once expected them to be included in the subsequent trade talks between China and Taiwan. We all know that actually it stopped after the Sunflower movement. I turned to another millfish processed product, millfish balls, to analyze how materiality is connected to quality taste mispunctuation. Fish balls are expected to be chewy, or in Taiwanese Q-tan in Taiwan. However, fish ball makers need to add starch to make it chewy. And in the case of Jusui, the second case I'm telling, high quality millfish ball with a high proportion of fish meat rather than the starch was marketed in China, but actually it ended as a business failure. To enter the Chinese market, Jusui aimed to sell their high quality fish balls through the efforts route. In terms of safety and taste, Jusui, which was a fish farmers group, paid the Jiayi County Fishermen Association to help obtain some sanitation certificates. For example, ISO 22000 and HACCP, which reflected international hygiene and sanitation standards. And actually, they employed experienced fishbowl master to provide his formula to make tasty fishbowl. It's high quality tasteful, they call it. They target supermarkets and online platforms in China. Thus, it needed different certifications. The plant manager attended several workshops in Taiwan to clarify the procedures of obtaining these certifications. The first container of frozen millfish balls was shipped to China in 2013. He attended 2 food expos in Shanghai and Xiamen to market their products. However, the sales was not boosted up. In mid-2014, when I started doing intensive research fieldwork on this case, Jusui reoriented its business to markets other than China. So they joined this kind of food expo in Taipei. I was the translator in English, Cantonese to Mandarin for them. But they failed to attract the international merchandisers. The Jusui leadership started to promote their products to domestic buyers, including their own religious network. Here, you can read my paper later on about the religious network at the local level, but I'm not going to talk more there here. Incurring consecutive losses for more than a year, the capital of Jusui was actually running short. Finally, they ended Jusui in 2016. Jusui's short business life is an exemplar of quality taste mispuntuation. Fish balls are considered as food for middle and lower classes in China, as I know. When Jusui market its millfish balls as a high quality and high value product, it encountered the problem that no Chinese market can accept such valuation. The socio-economic classes of Chinese consumers affected the popularity of millfish products in China. Good food quality does not guarantee good market value acceptance. So millfish traders actually have different strategies facing the Chinese markets. An informant from a fishing association once described the caustic trade simple but complex. A fishmonger and business person used the word chaotic run to imply the options they had and the cost-benefit calculations they need. Effort did not totally remove all the trade restrictions. We know that there is still value-added tax that people have to pay for. So actually, a trader said, China has a huge market, but we are now selling sardine from Indonesia to Shandong. We use sardine to produce fish paste. We sell Indonesian millfish to Taiwan. We do not sell Taiwanese millfish to China, even though the trader was actually from Taiwan. Even though there is an effort and tariff elimination, the overall costs of selling fish to China from Taiwan are more expensive than from Indonesia. We know that China has a trade agreement with the ASEAN, with the Southeast Asian countries. So that makes sense to me. You doesn't have to use the Taiwan's trade route here. So I just want to add something here is that actually in Simu, my field site, there are few millfish processors who were actually millfish traders too, but they did not use the FS trade route. They use the petty trade route. Here you go, the third example I have here. Taiwan matters in the cross-trade relationship because its culinary culture matters. The targeted consumers of the petty trade route is explicitly Taiwanese business people, Taishan, and their families in China. The taste of home is key to market millfish there. A trader claimed that it is the agreed form of smuggling of Shaoshan. The Chinese side does not impose tariffs or obtain inspection certificates on products. This unofficial policy, to a certain extent, encouraged the Taiwanese to do their business via this route since the 1990s or early 2000s. In the normal trade, that means the effort, one needs to obtain inspection certificates and clear customs. Those millfish traders use this route did not target to Chinese supermarkets. They target the Taiwanese consumers' network. So in China, a bowl of millfish belly soup actually can save someone from their homesickness. However, I found that neither did the petty trade remove the caustic trade restrictions. It actually offered both frictions and opportunities to these business people. The political economic situation of effort affected the stability of petty trade route. In 2015, a trader stopped selling millfish products to China through the petty trade route. He updated me that it seemed to be problematic nowadays at that time because China's changing policy. When we visited Simu in 2017, the boss again told me that the changing ruling party in Taiwan had made petty trade more difficult. So actually, we can find that the trade route was also affected by the caustic relationship. It can be called a frozen route anytime. Therefore, the millfish traders did not treat selling millfish to China as their major business. They continue to sell most fish in the domestic market. To them, Taiwan matters as its culinary culture includes millfish consumption. So here it comes my conclusion. My conclusion is that the bony millfish route reflects that reflects the spoiled caustic relationship. So here, spoiled means two things. Millfish trade, at the beginning, pro-effort politicians and traders considered China's Ranli concession as China's love and care for Taiwan. In other words, China spoiled Taiwan. During the effort's implementation, the failure of millfish marketing showed the round knee did not lead to China's expected consequences, unification. Second, the cost-rate relationship became rotten at the time when Tsai Ing-wen took the office. In this presentation, I have adopted the metaphor of quality taste punctuation to illustrate 3 case studies of cost-rate millfish trade. I have highlighted the millfish traders practice their agency to explore the Chinese market. Effort as a lubricator of trade and globalization has motivated the FFC and Zhu Sui to set up. Their failures delineate the cultural factors and the materiality of millfish as easily spoiled seafood can affect trade flow and business performance. Product quality and taste may or may not be accepted in different places across the Taiwan Straits. Either a closer or frozen cost-rate relationship is less important than consumers' market demand affected by taste and class. Quality taste mispunctuation occurs because of miscalculation of governments and traders. The experience of Taiwanese millfish sector is important to show the lubrication and frictions coexist in global food trades. They create opportunities and risks to different forms of trade routes and flows. The existence of domestic markets can still be business people's one of the major destinations for their products. Knowing about the diverse food cultures and acknowledging it are critical to the survival of food businesses. So future research can be extended to Taiwan's millfish trade relationships with other countries to explore the diversity of foodways and demands for millfish or other seafood products. That's why I have a new project articulating the food value, actually not only in Taiwan, but also in North America and also Japan or Korea. So this is the end of my sharing, and thank you so much for having me here and for my presentation. I welcome all kinds of questions and comments. Thank you.